All right, let's jump right in with today's deep dive. We're tackling The Brothers Karamazov by Fyodor Dostoevsky.
Oh, this one's a classic, a real deep dive.
You got it. Our listener sent in some seriously intriguing excerpts.
And Dostoevsky is known for those big questions, right? Life, faith, the whole human experience.
Exactly. So whether you've read the entire novel or just heard of it, today we're going to unpack the key characters, the plot twists, and those really profound themes.
Sounds like we're in for quite a ride.
Totally. It's a story that can feel, well, surprisingly relevant even centuries later.
Oh, absolutely. It's all about messy family dynamics, right? Moral struggles, the search for meaning, stuff we can all relate to, even now.
Exactly. So even if you haven't read the whole thing, we'll bring those key moments and characters to life. Ready to meet the Karamazov brothers?
Let's do it.
Okay, so picture this. Three brothers, each shaped by this kind of chaotic upbringing and each having to face their own, inner demons. First, we have Dmitri, the oldest. He's impulsive, passionate, always led by his heart.
Even when it gets him into trouble. I feel like I know the type.
Totally. You can really see how his recklessness is like a direct reaction to his dad's neglect. Almost like he's trying to fill some kind of void with those intense experiences, whether it's love, gambling, even violence.
A classic Dostoevsky character, full of contradictions.
Then there's Ivan, the middle brother. He's the intellectual, always questioning, always analyzing.
The opposite of Dmitri, then.
Exactly. Dmitri seeks solace in passion. Ivan seeks it in reason. But his doubts, especially about faith, lead him down some pretty dark paths.
Ah, and it's not just random philosophical musing, right? Dostoevsky places him in this family, with a father like Fyodor Pavlovitch. The guy embodies the worst of humanity. It makes Ivan's struggle with faith all the more, well, potent.
Right, like if a world with so much suffering can be created by God, then what does that even say about morality? It's a question that, yeah, it can really keep you up at night.
Totally agree. It makes you think about those big questions.
Definitely. And then we have Alyosha, the youngest. He represents a whole different path, seeking solace in faith and compassion, always trying to find goodness, even amidst, all the darkness.
Alyosha might seem, well, a little simple at first, right? The good brother compared to his more troubled siblings.
Right, right. But Dostoevsky doesn't make things easy for him, His faith is constantly tested, especially by all the hypocrisy and suffering he encounters. It really makes you consider what genuine faith even looks like when the world is constantly challenging it.
Makes sense. A good counterpoint to Ivan's struggles.
So we've got these three brothers all wrestling with their past, trying to find their place in the world. But then Dostoevsky throws this captivating woman into the mix, Grushenka, and things get really interesting.
Oh, yeah. Grushenka, beautiful, independent, and kind of a mystery, right?
Absolutely. She becomes this point of contention between Dmitri and their father, with both of them wanting her affection.
But she's not just some prize to be won, is she? She has her own desires, her own motivations, definitely defies the expectations placed on women in that society.
Totally. And this is where Dostoevsky starts weaving this really tangled web. Grushenka is drawn to Dmitri's passion, but she also forms this unique bond with Alyosha. It's almost like she's drawn to different qualities each brother represents. Dmitri's passion and Alyosha's spiritual solace.
Fascinating. She sees something in both of them.
Right. And what's so fascinating about her is that she refuses to be put in a box. She's strong, but also vulnerable, capable of both love and, well, let's say, she knows how to manipulate a situation.
She forces you to question your own judgments, doesn't she? Like, can someone be flawed and worthy of love at the same time? Are those lines between victim and manipulator always clear-cut?
Such great points. It's like Dostoevsky is holding up a mirror to human nature, showing us just how messy and complicated it can be. And all of this, the family drama, those clashing personalities, Grushenka's entrance, it's all building toward a crime that's going to shake this family to its core. The murder of their father.
Whoa. That's a huge turn.
Right. And this is where the novel really becomes a page-turner. But it's not just about who did it, Dostoevsky uses the whole investigation to, dissect the very idea of guilt and innocence.
Ooh, getting deep. Love it.
It makes you think, is it always so clear-cut? Are we all capable of darkness under the right circumstances? What even makes someone truly guilty, not just legally, but in their own heart? It really makes you think.
Totally. Gets you right in the feels.
And those questions are just the beginning. This is Dostoevsky, after all.
Oh, for sure. There are philosophical debates about faith, and then there's nihilism, the impact of childhood trauma, the whole search for redemption. All these threads start weaving together, and it creates this, tapestry of human experience, you know?
Exactly. It's captivating, but it's also so thought-provoking. And Dostoevsky doesn't give us easy answers. He challenges us to grapple with these big questions ourselves.
And that's what makes his work so powerful.
Absolutely. It's a conversation that continues long after you close the book, ready to delve deeper into the heart of the Karamazov family.
I am so ready for this. Hit me with it. So we're really starting to see Dmitri unravel, right? He's consumed by this passion, this desperation, obsessed with Grushenka, totally convinced that she's the key to his happiness.
And he's drowning in debt, feeling all that pressure, those societal expectations weighing him down.
Oh yeah, the source material really highlights Dmitri's inner turmoil, trying to borrow money from anyone, selling off his belongings. It's almost like he's running from a storm that's already caught him.
And it's not just about the money, right? It's what it represents in that society. Dmitri's whole sense of self-worth is just crumbling right alongside his finances.
Exactly. And this is where Dostoevsky is so brilliant. He puts Dmitri in this society where honor, reputation, it's everything. You know, if you were in his shoes, facing financial ruin, the shame of owing a debt, especially to a woman, wouldn't you feel desperate?
Oh, absolutely. The stakes are so high for him.
Totally. So, driven by this desperation and fueled by jealousy, Dmitri gets it in his head that Grushenka is meeting up with his own father. Can you imagine that rage? That feeling of betrayal?
It's like a powder keg, just waiting to explode. And Dostoevsky doesn't shy away from those psychological effects of Dmitri's obsession. Like the way he describes him, lurking in the shadows, spying on Grushenka. It pulls you right into his paranoia, all those frantic thoughts spiraling.
It's like psychological realism at its finest. He's not just telling you about Dmitri's state of mind, he's making you experience it. You feel that heat of jealousy, that desperation clawing at him.
And then boom, that confrontation with his father.
Yeah, Dmitri just bursts in, totally fueled by rage and suspicion. The whole scene is chaotic, shouting, things breaking, accusations flying everywhere. You can practically feel the tension.
So intense. And in that moment, that uncontrolled fury, Dmitri strikes Grigory, the servant, mistakes him for his father in the darkness.
It's such a tragic turning point, this act of violence that just shows how far Dmitri has fallen. But even after this outburst, Dostoevsky still gives us these glimpses of his humanity. He still believes that if he can win Grushenka's love, if he can just get her, everything will be okay.
It's heartbreaking because you see that he's not inherently bad. He's just deeply flawed, driven to these desperate acts by circumstance and his own, unchecked emotions.
Yeah, totally. And this is what leads us to that wild goose chase to Mokro, that crazy party. Dmitri's trying to drown his sorrows, impress Grushenka.
Dostoevsky's descriptions of this party are so vivid. Music, dancing, drunken revelry. But it's all a front, right? A desperate attempt to manufacture happiness while he's running from his problems.
He's trying to buy love and forget his guilt all at the same time. But underneath it all, you can sense that weight, the knowledge that his life is spiraling.
The source material even mentions Dmitri giving away money to strangers, almost like he's trying to atone for something without actually admitting what he did.
Trying to find forgiveness without facing the truth.
Right. And through all of this, Dostoevsky doesn't forget about the impact of Dmitri's actions on the people around him. Those peasant women, the girls caught up in his drama, they become like collateral damage in this whole whirlwind of passion and despair.
It's such a good point. Those smaller details remind us that everyone, even those seemingly insignificant characters, have their own lives, their own hopes. They can get swept up in the wake of someone else's choices.
Exactly. It really highlights that ripple effect of our actions, how even personal struggles can impact others in ways we don't even realize.
Absolutely. And then we have the Polish officer showing up, adding another layer to this whole love triangle thing.
Oh yeah, Grushenka's first and rightful lover. He represents that past she's trying to escape. A reminder of all the control and manipulation she's endured.
Right. And it's interesting because Dmitri sees himself as her savior, like he can rescue her from all that. But it's so clear that Grushenka is strong, independent. She wants to make her own path.
She's not a damsel in distress waiting for a knight in shining armor, that's for sure.
Not at all. She's a force to be reckoned with, and she will make her own choices, even if they're tough.
It's a theme that runs through so many of Dostoevsky's female characters. They are not passive, they are complex, multifaceted, they defy expectations.
I love that. And while Dmitri is consumed by all this passion, remember, Ron, he's wrestling with a totally different internal struggle. That whole everything is lawful idea if there's no God. Well, his actions start reflecting that in a pretty chilling way.
He becomes cynical, detached, rejects traditional morality and authority. Like, he's testing those limits, seeing how far he can push things.
His conversations with Alyosha become these intense philosophical battles. He's arguing that without a divine compass, nothing matters. It's bleak, and it really challenges Alyosha's faith, makes him confront the depths of that human darkness.
And right in the middle of all this darkness, all this despair, we get this beautiful, almost unexpected story of Father Zossima, Alyosha's spiritual mentor. It's like a ray of light breaking through.
Father Zossima's life story is all about the power of redemption. He was wild in his youth, committed a terrible crime, but through this profound spiritual transformation, he finds his way to a life of faith and compassion.
It's a powerful message, especially when contrasted with Ivan's bleak nihilism. It shows that even those who've strayed can find their way back. That change is possible.
Exactly. Like Dostoevsky saying, even surrounded by suffering, darkness, there's still that potential for growth and healing.
But even Father Zossima's story has these complexities. Remember what happens after his death with his body.
Right. It starts decomposing way faster than expected, which shakes the faith of those who saw him as a saint. It's like Dostoevsky's questioning what it even means to be holy.
It's powerful. It makes you question your own assumptions about faith, spirituality.
For sure. And as we head into the final part of our deep dive, keep those questions in mind. The investigation into Fyodor Pavlovitch's murder is about to heat up, and the truth, well, just like these characters, it's going to be far from simple.
Okay, so we're back, diving deeper into the world of the Brothers Karamazov. Last we left off, things were getting pretty intense, right? Dmitri's on this downward spiral, Ivan's questioning all of morality, and their father's murder hangs over everything.
It's like a pressure cooker about to explode, and now the investigation really kicks into high gear. The authorities are determined to find out what happened, and Dmitri, well, he's their main target.
The source material really gets into the nitty-gritty of that interrogation. They're analyzing every single thing Dmitri does, every word he says, trying to build their case.
It's so interesting how Dostoevsky uses those interrogation scenes to explore what truth even means. Like, is it just facts and evidence, or is it more subjective, colored by our own perceptions and biases?
Such a great point. And Dmitri keeps insisting he's innocent, but then his actions, his statements, they contradict each other, making him look so guilty. You can practically feel his desperation, the way he's trying to explain himself, but the more he talks, the more tangled it all becomes.
Yeah, and remember, we're seeing everything through Dmitri's eyes. His struggles, his attempts to reconcile his actions with his sense of honor. It makes you wonder, is he even being honest with himself?
It's like he's his own worst enemy, blinded by emotions and justifications. But Dostoevsky doesn't stop there. He introduces this character, Smerdyakov, a seemingly simple servant who starts to play a much more, well, sinister role.
Oh, Smerdyakov. He's quiet, observant, and you can tell he's got his own resentments brewing. There's something unsettling about him, the way he's always lurking in the background.
I know, right? You can never quite tell what he's thinking. His testimony is full of ambiguity, leaving you wondering, is he being manipulated, or is he the one pulling the strings?
He almost embodies Ivan's philosophy that everything is lawful idea, but taken to this, chilling extreme. It makes you ask, if morality is truly subjective, can anyone really claim to be innocent?
It really gets under your skin. And while the men are caught up in the investigation, we also see more of Grushenka's world. Her testimony reveals so much about her past with Dmitri's father, that twisted dynamic, and her desperate attempts to break free.
Her story really flips the script on how women are often portrayed in literature. She's not just a love interest or a victim, she's a survivor, using her smarts and her charm to navigate this world dominated by men.
You see how she's had to make these tough choices just to survive? And her relationship with Alyosha, it shows that yearning for something more, for real love and spiritual guidance.
She embodies this tension between being strong and vulnerable, using manipulation, but also wanting authenticity. It's like a reminder that people are rarely just one thing or the other. We're all so complex.
So true. And then there's that whole incident with Father Zossima's body after he dies. The decomposition, the smell, it shakes the faith of those who thought he was a saint.
It's such a powerful moment. It challenges those assumptions we make about people, especially those we put on a pedestal. It's Dostoevsky reminding us that even the most respected figures are human, flawed, subject to the same things as everyone else.
It's a reality check, forcing the characters and us as readers to confront our own hypocrisy, the fragility of what we believe.
And Ivan's storyline.
Oh.
So it takes a darker turn as his ideas about a godless world, absolute freedom, lead him down this path of despair and self-destruction.
His conversations with Alyosha become so nihilistic, like he's saying, if there's no greater meaning, then life is just an empty void.
But even in that bleakness, there's a sliver of hope. He's tormented by guilt, haunted by what his ideas have led to. It's like, even when we deny our conscience, it still has a way of catching up to us.
So here we are at the end of our deep dive, and we're left with more questions than answers. Who really killed Fyodor Pavlovitch? Is it Dmitri, fueled by passion and desperation? Is it Ivan, with his philosophy that seems to justify anything? Or is it Smerdyakov, lurking in the shadows with his hidden motives?
Dostoevsky doesn't wrap things up neatly, does he? He leaves us grappling with those complexities of human nature, the tangled web of choices and their consequences, and those big questions, faith, morality, searching for meaning in a world that often feels meaningless.
And that's the power of the Brothers Karamazov. It's a story that lingers, making you question your own beliefs, confront the darkness and the light within us all. It's not just a novel, it's a conversation, one that keeps going long after the last page.
I think that's a great way to put it. So what resonated with you during this deep dive? What are you still thinking about? Dostoevsky doesn't hand us easy answers, but he encourages us to keep searching, keep questioning, keep the conversation alive.
And we hope this deep dive has inspired you to explore Dostoevsky's world a bit more, wrestle with those big questions, and discover your own interpretations of this incredible work. Thanks for joining us.